This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Ladies and gentlemen, broadcasting live from the Margaritaville Terrace on Fort Myers Beach, 100 feet from the Gulf of America. Here are your award-winning social media superstars, the hosts of Beach Talk Radio, Kim and Ed Ryan.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for coming.
Petey.
And Petey, yes. Thank you all for coming to Margaritaville. Man, it feels like we haven't been here forever. Last 2 weekends, we had parades on Fort Myers Beach, the Shrimp Festival Parade, and then the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And the weather on Fort Myers Beach right now is unbelievable. You're talking about probably one of the best weather days. You don't have any tents up. The temperature is perfect, and it's a nice day to come and enjoy Margaritaville or any other business here at Fort Myers Beach. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we did get a puppy. And the puppy was the hit of the crowd not too long ago, but they don't, at this age, I guess, they run around for 15 minutes and then they nap.
Well,
just like an old man.
Petey lasted longer than you. You are sleeping all the time now, but he's out.
This is why it's great to have a puppy at my age, because we now we sync the nap time at the same time.
You got to go every 30 minutes.
Yeah. And so the dog is in training. I think we
in training for what?
Outdoor Peapod training.
Oh.
Yeah. So
you guys share that too.
Yeah. No, I only missed the ball when your mom's in town,
nice.
and it's strategic. We picked up PD from
Go Far.
Guardians of Florida Pet Rescue. They did an event at the brewery in Gateway last Sunday. Animal Rescue, and they are planning to do an event here. We do have an event lined up for right here on the terrace in April. So look for details on that.
Just so you know, and they know, we're not adopting every time we do one of their events.
Sorry, Marion. We're going to get to it. So, no, one of the problems with these events is you see all these dogs that need a home, and then they're all going back. And I know everybody does a great job volunteering, but they are going back to some sort of a cage, or in some cases probably more than one or two dogs in the same cage or kennel, or however they're doing it. But you were walking around with that dog for 2 hours last Sunday, and I was
because I was trying to get somebody, not us, to adopt it, because we have to. But now we have 3, and that's like we're staying.
And thank you all out
making a stay bet here.
Thank you all out in Facebook land for helping with the naming of the dog. It became like a community thing. It's so funny how people really could care less about the news on Fort Myers Beach, but the minute you put a picture of a dog up there, people come out of the woodwork. 700 suggested comments, but we went with PD in honor of Pete's Time Out, which is, in case you didn't know, which is where we started our show in Times Square, going on 7 years. We're going to be coming up on 7 years this July. Yeah, and we're actually planning a pool party for our 7-year anniversary here at Margaritaville. So more details coming out on that.
Yeah, we were still there when the storm hit, and then we became nomads until we got picked up.
Right, and it was nice because Tom said he saw that we were doing the show at the base of the bridge or behind a broken Nervous Nellies or in Times Square when there's still debris out there. And Tom said, the minute that we're open, you guys have a spot. And then Wahoo Willie's opened first, so we were there, and we always told Wahoo Willie's when the show when Margaritaville opens, we're going to Margaritaville. So it turns out we're at both places now and have nice crowds like we do today. So, Maren, what is going on? There's so much stuff going on here at the resort, and we wanted to bring you on. We want to bring you on every Saturday to give everyone an idea how they can participate here at Margaritaville.
Thank you so much for having me. We have so many fun and exciting things coming up, like spring break And snowbird season is kind of winding down, but we're like winding up for the summer to keep it activated and an exciting environment. So it's just an opportunity to let everyone know what's going on in the upcoming months. So I appreciate it. I had to bring a list because there's so much and I couldn't even fit it all in 5 minutes. So I just kind of wanted to start with Easter brunch, which is exciting. We didn't do that last year, and we're going to have it in our Compass Ballroom, which is right behind me. We'll have an Easter bunny hopping around the resort and lots of fun activities at the pool and around the resort. But the Easter brunch is going to be exceptional. So I would highly encourage people making their reservations now.
Did you pay for that?
No.
Cutting into the profits already. After Easter, what else we have?
Yeah, so after Easter,
don't get if you're easily distracted, it's going to be a problem.
I just want to put out there, plug funonfmb.com, because that's where you can get all of the latest information. That's where you can make reservations for Easter brunch and find out all the monthly events that are going on around the resort.
And if you don't remember that, although it's an easy URL to remember, you can go on the Beach Talk Radio News website, and it's on the right-hand rail on the bottom. Just click on that, and it'll take you to all the events.
And I got to tell you, if the Easter buffet is anything like the Thanksgiving Day buffet,
delicious.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
They do a phenomenal job.
Nice
so
atmosphere,
I'm excited about that one. Also, we've got La Di Da, our beach bar down on right on the beach. We're going to be starting karaoke on Thursday night.
Oh.
So I don't know if anyone here likes karaoke, but
You hear that, Bob? If you've ever done karaoke, raise your hand. If anybody has ever, not that many.
I'm guilty.
I think you're all lying. I mean.
In addition to trivia and bingo we have on Tuesdays. And
what's your favorite karaoke song?
What would Amy by Pure Prairie League. And I say that because you're going to get this is because one time, of course, there was drinking involved, and Doug Decker got up and started singing it. This is where we used to live in Oneonta, and I just got up and started singing it with him because the words are easy. Like they say the same thing over and over again. So if we do that, maybe you and I can.
Pink Floyd song?
No Pink Floyd songs. I think.
I think you and I would do a Sonny and Cher song.
I don't think there's ever been a karaoke Pink Floyd song done. If there, that'll one way to clear the bar. But okay, so 8 to 11 at La Di Da.
Yep, we've got that going on, and we're also starting a daily late night happy hour there. So that's also from 8 to 11. We're going to have daiquiri specials, margarita brand specialty drinks, and $5 Land Shark 16-ounce drafts. So
that's a nice idea because usually,
ladies and gentlemen, the general manager
earlier.
of Margaritaville, yes, trying to be incognito with his glasses on, but he's doing a great job running this place. Yeah. What's that? Late.
When does that start? We're starting that April 1st. So
April 1st, everybody.
1st, mark your calendar.
That's not a joke, right?
It's not going to be an April Fool's Day.
No joke.
How can we spin that?
April 1st.
8 to 11. That's a good happy hour.
Yeah,
no kidding. Who does that?
To circle back, make your circle end at La Di Da. And then we've got, let's see, JWB is our fine dining restaurant on the second floor of Building 2 over there, and phenomenal views. We're going to start doing a Sunday brunch. So that'll be from 10 to 2 on Sundays starting April 13th.
Awesome. All new. This is all new that you're hearing right here first.
We've been wanting to do a Sunday brunch because, there's just not a lot of options for that around here. So it's exciting. It's going to be, I brought the menu. If anyone wants to see it, I've got all the menus here.
Great.
So, and then we've got License to Chill is going to be doing TC and the Troublemakers every Friday night.
All right.
So
and
we
they're
had
a
it
local
last
favorite.
night.
Yep.
I watched video. It was amazing, the amount of people dancing out on this lawn last night. It was a really good time.
So they're going to be regulars at License to Chill.
That's right.
All right.
Yep. We're also starting, another exciting thing is our full moon dinners on the beach. Once a month during the full moon, we'll have tables set up. It's a limited number of tables, I think maybe 10 tables or so, but we'll have live entertainment, maybe acoustic guitar, maybe violinist, might switch it up. But we did that for Valentine's Day, and it was such a huge hit.
So I have a dumb question. I know you probably know the answer to this, and this is going to be a dumb question, but how do you know when the full moon is going to be?
It's online.
You can tell, like, so.
You can.
It
you
goes
see, I told
like
you
on
guys.
a schedule. Like it's.
Are you guys
goes
laughing
with
at me because I asked that?
Yes.
Is it really online? Like you can go online and find out when the full moon
You
is.
can know the full moon like pretty far out. Yeah.
So it only happens once a month, the full moon.
I think you should stop talking.
I had no
now.
idea. Dear, I'm into pets. I'm not into astronomy, just so you know. Although I did have a telescope when I was a young boy 100 years ago.
The moon is fascinating.
Yes, it is. Sometimes it's bigger, like a big moon.
It's full on different days
Oh
of the
my
month all the
God.
time. So it's not always going to be, but I think the first one I want to say is like a Saturday.
Well,
So
look it up,
worked out.
man.
Yeah,
Look it up.
Saturday is April 12th. It will be our first
What if
one.
it's on a Wednesday?
It's on a Wednesday.
You're
Then you
doing
have
it.
a romantic dinner on the beach on a
I
Wednesday.
see. I see.
Yeah.
So if anybody's
There's
just
no bad day to have
Yeah,
a romantic
exactly.
beach. A
Really?
romantic dinner on the beach.
So if anybody has not, if you don't know what's going on here, we're giving away prizes at the end of the show. You don't have to purchase anything. Just come see Marie and fill out a ticket. You have your choice from 3 prizes. It's going to be 2 pool passes to this big, gigantic pool out here, or a 50-minute massage, or 2 tickets to the Easter brunch. So
Yep.
if you haven't, you don't need to buy anything. Just fill out the ticket. You just need to be here at the end of the show. Anything else, Maren? Are we good?
I think that's it for today.
All right.
I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
Thank
to
you
talk.
for coming on, and we'll talk to you
And-
once a week.
Yep.
Yep.
We're going to try to have someone from different places, like maybe a chef from JWB come and join.
Oh, cool.
Talk
Nice.
about what
Yeah.
they have going on there. So it won't always be me, but
All right. Well, that's a bummer. Well, as we wish you good luck and invite our next guest on, Greg Skasny. What? We're going to do it right now. I want everybody to reach under their chair and see if there's anything taped to the bottom of your chair. And there you go. You have a free pass to the pool, ladies and gentlemen.
Yay.
Yeah.
Oh, look at all of those.
Yay,
Yeah.
winner,
If you did not get one,
Winner,
check a
winner,
chair.
pool
Check a chair
ticket.
close to you. Check a chair close to you.
Oh, yay.
There you go. Very nice. See that? See the benefits of coming to the show.
The benefits of coming in person.
You never know what you're going to get when you come to the show. We have a nice big crowd. Thank you, Maren. Big hand for Maren Asher from Margaritaville. Our next guest is a regular on our show. This is his 78th appearance, but this is a different kind of appearance because Greg is the spokesperson for Protect FMB, and they are an organization that has filed a, I don't know if you can call it a lawsuit yet, but it's paperwork to be a lawsuit, or it's on its way to becoming a lawsuit, against the town of Fort Myers Beach to try and stop the construction of the Seagate buildings that are going up or plan to go up on the Red Coconut property. So Greg is here to tell us how that's going and why you decided to start you and I think Bill Veach and a couple others are really the faces.
There's 4 people on our board right now.
Who are the other 2?
Tom Brady and Lori Webster.
Okay. All right. We know them both well. Tom's been on the show. I think Lori's been on the show too.
She has.
All right. So I walked around Lover's Lane this morning. If you didn't see the walk around, we were at Lover's Lane, which is really the other side of.
Did you notice something on your video? Which I don't usually watch your morning walk arounds, but you see how big a shadow you cast just standing there?
You mean, is that a fat joke? Is that
no,
me, a shadow?
I'll talk about your fatness later, but no. But even this look like how big, like a shadow, imagine a 255 foot
we'll get to all
building.
that. I mean, by the way, speaking of that, how much weight have you lost?
25 pounds.
25 pounds just from cutting out drinking.
Well, no, carnivore. I've been doing a carnivore diet for like.
What is
7
that?
months.
What is a carnivore
I eat
diet?
steak every day. Low carb, low carb diet.
Steak every day. You know
Yeah.
how high in fat steak is?
Fat's good for you.
I
That's the
know it
problem.
is, but steak is. I mean, can you go?
Listen, the results don't lie. Like, listen, I'm.
So, what do you weigh now?
Works.
What do you weigh now?
About 209, 206,
And what's your
somewhere around there.
goal weight?
If I can stay around 200, I mean, I do jujitsu, so like being a little heavy, being a little bigger is good. So I just don't want to be fat. I just want to be healthy. That's all. I have a young son. I want to live a long time. I stopped drinking for my son, not so much to lose weight.
Oh, because your son saw you drinking and he was like, "Dad, stop drinking."
It's high blood pressure. It's a lot of bad things. So I
Yeah.
just cut it out. And
What do you
once
got
in
in
a
that? What's in that?
peach tea.
Peach tea?
Hot peach tea.
Just tea.
Just tea. Drink
All
it.
right.
It's
No,
delicious.
it's okay. I'm drinking beer. Why do I want to drink and ruin it with tea? So you have a 4-member board, and you need $100,000.
Well, where are you? Yeah. So where did you first get started with this? What was the first step?
So the first step was not done by me. It was done by others. They got together, wanted to form a not-for-profit. They asked me if I would assist. I said absolutely. Happy to donate my time, my treasure, and my talents to. And in the morning to you, Ed, by the way. So they asked me to join the board. I did, to help kind of get the word out about what we want to do. Our basic function is to help raise awareness and raise funds for the people that are affected by the development. Writing what we call, doing what's called a writ citatory. I don't pronounce it right. It's Latin. I'm not a lawyer, but it's basically a lawsuit. Is expensive, and so you can't expect the people who have been here and survived, not only Ian, but Helene and Idalia and Debbie and all the Milton and all these things. We're all kind of, and I'm in the same boat. We're all kind of tapped out. So we wanted to pull the resources of the community together to get these people their day in court, which I think is good. I think we have a good case. We have more plaintiffs than we could put on the lawsuit to sign up for it, so that was good.
So right now there are like seven or ish residents that their names are on the suit. Yep. So by the way, for the folks that don't know, Greg lost his house in the storm on Andre Marr, and you're in the, we're not going to go into the history of the whole thing, but you're trying to rebuild, but you're still not rebuilt. You're using Michael Stewart now, who, if anybody is rebuilding their house, please call Michael Stewart first. If you want a house that doesn't fall down, he's the first person that you want to call. And Cole is going to be your contractor. What's Cole's last name?
Stinson.
Cole Stinson.
Yeah, he's a beach kid, been on island for a long time.
For those that don't know, Cole was the real fundraiser behind the fireworks a year ago. He got all the builders on the island to put up the money for the fireworks. So he's a good egg. And Michael Stewart, and or call Studio AD Albert if you want to start with people that you can trust, so you don't wind up with people that you thought you could trust.
Just don't call the man without a plan.
Yeah, everybody knows what you mean by that. So when will you be back in your house?
I have no idea. I mean, we just started doing preliminary stuff.
Because there's you have nothing on the property?
No, the house is there, but it's not built to plan, so it has to be re-engineered, which Michael's doing. But we'll get back in. We're getting the process of getting started again, which is good. It's been sitting vacant.
Luckily, you got great neighbors, and you're able to stay in a house close by.
I'm on my 7th house on my street.
Wow.
Since Ian.
Yeah.
So
you're.
So you've done the writ of Satoria or whatever it is.
Yeah, I can't pronounce it either. It's fine.
And so, what's the next step?
So the next step is they have to file a rebuttal, response to
the
other side of the town. And then we go to court, and then the judge decides whether they filed
is it like an administrative process.
Yeah, it's not from what I'm told. Again, I'm not an attorney, but it's different than a traditional lawsuit where there's discovery and you depose people and all that fun stuff. That's
not fun.
That's not what we're doing here. That's very, very expensive. It is, and even though I think we have a good case there, it was not recommended by our legal team to follow that strategy.
So you think he obviously, any lawyer would say, I think you have a good case, because you said you needed $100,000 to fight this, and so I mean
that's our goal, because it's not just Seagate is not our only fight that we want to take.
What is your other fight?
There's others that are out there.
Will you fight Moss Marina?
I can't say. I'm not going to.
Are you personally against or for Moss Marina's new project?
The way it's shown yesterday, I'm not for it.
They're down to 263 rooms from 400.
Again, but you have to, if you want to get deep into it, you have to balance what is in our comp plan currently, which is what's still law, where marinas are coveted by our comp plan, and we're going to give up a marina to put it in a resort. That's a tough one.
I thought
we only have 2 marinas on the
island.
But it's not a public marina. It's a place where you can do kayaks. It's not a marina a working marina, which is what they call that.
So you're fighting the town on the Seagate thing because part of your claim is they didn't follow the comp plan. And just so we can argue it out here, the town may say that, listen, the comp plan does say 4 overflood, or 3 overflood, 4 overflood, whatever it is. But there's the opportunity to get a comprehensive plan development, a CPD, or a development agreement.
They don't have that. They don't have a CPD.
They have a development agreement, which was something the town did put in place to try and help buildings get built.
Smaller correct developments.
So Seagate figured out a way to be the first one to get the development agreement across the finish line, and they did. How do you square that? Like, they say they did follow.
I respectfully disagree. I don't think they followed their process, right? So our lawsuit specifically says And the law specifically says, again, I'm not an attorney. You can just take what I say and throw it out the
Sure,
damn window
you're a
because I'm not an
spokesperson.
attorney. But you
It's
have
your
you have to
understanding.
make your decision as a council person under competent and substantial evidence by recognized experts. So our councilmen saying, our council people, I won't name names, saying that I take the word of Fran Meyer, who has 52 million reasons to agree with this project, that it's less dense, or I take the word of Jen Dunlap, who's not a sworn-in expert. That's not legal.
Okay,
it's
but
not legal.
if we could just focus on that for a second, because what you filed does focus on John King mentioning Jim Dunlap's quote at the LPA meeting. But you guys make it sound like that's the only thing that he decided it on. You pulled that out to make it seem like it was the only thing.
That's what he said. Listen,
he did say
words
that.
have consequences
Sure.
when you're in a quasi-judicial process. You can't say things willy-nilly about how you're going to make a decision. You have to base your decision. One, you have to come in with no preconceived notions. You have to make a decision on what is put in there by experts.
Right.
So making a decision outside of those parameters is not.
I guess
it's not legal.
My point is, you're making it sound like John King voted yes solely based on what Dunlap said, and that's not correct.
I can only go by what he said under
He did
oath.
say that.
That's what he said. That's what he said
But
under
you
oath.
don't. So you don't want to listen to what I'm saying. What you're trying to say is that Dunlap, King only made his decision on what Jim said. That's not accurate.
Is that what he said? It's not what he said
He did
during the
say
hearing.
that. He did say that.
What else did he make his decision on?
But there was also a hoopla of other coverage as far as what went on. They asked the attorney if it was legal, and their attorney said it was legal. They went through the whole process.
So the town attorney's never wrong?
Well, the last town attorney was wrong every time, but this one seems to be pretty good. No, and thank
There's
God.
a reason Seagate had 3 meetings, right? So they didn't have to have 3 meetings, right?
Well, they did it
because it wasn't noticed properly, and the town attorney had said again, it's not like attorneys are infallible. I mean, nobody's infallible.
No.
Right? So to say just because the town attorney says it's okay.
You asked, and your attorneys, they've looked at this stuff. I would assume an attorney would not take on a case that they didn't think had some merit.
Because that's never happened
Yeah,
before
I don't know
in the life of the attorneys living on the planet.
What I will say is that our group didn't just go out and pick the first attorney who would take our case. Mr. Brady, who's the president of our board, went through a very rigorous process. He's an ex-IBMer. He went through a very rigorous selection process, an interview process with several different attorneys who were willing to take it. Some of them were not willing to take the case. They're like, I just don't have the bandwidth, or whatever the case may be. So it wasn't just throw a dart at the dartboard and let's see who we're going to pick as an attorney. It was a very well thought out and well done process, in my opinion. And so it wasn't like we picked an attorney willy-nilly. It was done very specifically, very purposefully.
They're a very respected law firm.
They're great.
For sure.
They're great. Again, so we're raising funds. ProtectFNB.org. If you're willing to give, come check out the website.
So who are the biggest donors in the
Our
group?
donor list is 100% private. It will not disclose donors.
But just between us kids, you might want to share.
Good luck.
How much have you put in?
A lot.
Yeah.
But again, time, talent, and treasure, right? So I do all the technology. I host all the websites. I do all the mailing lists. That.
So how much are you up to?
About a little over 40 grand.
40,000. How many total donators?
Don't even know, but hundreds.
Yeah. You don't have hundreds. I don't believe you. You have hundreds of
some
people.
People don't give a whole lot. Some people give $10.
Yeah.
Some people, that's fine. We'll take that.
Gotcha.
Some people give.
How much have you given?
A considerable
of the 40,
amount.
what percentage?
How much have you given?
But it's not cash.
I'm even Steven.
In kind. Most of my donations are in kind.
I don't want anybody to think I'm pushing the Seagate proposal. I enjoy the debate.
Even if you did, I wouldn't tell anybody you did.
Right, but I'm just saying. I mean, I've even said to the vice mayor, they came in with 17, and you didn't even ask them to go down to 14.
That's in the lawsuit too. I mean, the nebulousness of public benefit and what was given as public benefit for them to build that monstrosity and basically destroy a neighborhood is, again, it's a very subjective thing, and it should. And when you have to deal with the largest structures ever put on our island, public benefit shouldn't be something that's subjective.
Yeah.
So
I know, like, everybody goes, oh, that's a hard problem, but that's why they're there. They're elected to solve hard problems. They're not there to take the softballs. They're elected to do the hard work.
Well,
and
at
make
least
it public.
Some of them felt that there was enough public benefit.
So,
I mean, and again, it's a subjective thing.
I would love to get all the residents here and say, and let. I mean, you can just say, like, just take a look at what happened last weekend. For those who didn't know, our library opened. I am on the library board. Our library opened last weekend. It was awesome. it's a beautiful building, but the town had a table downstairs. It wasn't well advertised, I will say.
Nope.
But a lot of people went down there and gave their opinion. And they had little dots you can put on things to say, what would you like to see? Would you like to see single family residences that are elevated? You'd like to see, duplexes, blah, 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 and all the way up to high rise condos. There was 0 stickers. And that wasn't us, or I didn't even, again, I knew it was happening the day before. We didn't publicize it. It was just groups of citizens went there. Not one sticker was for high-rise condos. So, and this happens over and over again. You saw it with public comment. They're just not listening. So, unfortunately, the road we have to go down is it's time for the lawyers. So one of the things that Matt at Seagate said was, have you heard from Matt lately?
I have not. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I did ask him for a comment when you filed the lawsuit, and on the advice of his attorney, he said he couldn't comment. So he did get back to me. I haven't seen him on the beach. But I didn't see him on the beach while the whole thing was going on, except for a town council meeting. So I'm not disparaging Matt in any way or anybody at Seagate. I think they would like to be a member of the Fort Myers Beach community. I don't know how that whole thing is going to play out. Eventually, it doesn't.
Okay, when you have and I was going to call majority, you have many residents who feel like you're destroying our island. It's very hard to be part of the community.
You don't know what many is. I mean, listen, you could say that, but we don't know what the number is.
At least 1,400 because that's how many people voted for me, and I was not shy about my position the whole time.
But you did lose.
No, by 100 votes. Yeah, I got it.
But you did. Yeah. But and then what I was going to say,
I'll take the loss, man. I did it.
No, you're probably in a better position now to fight it than you would be as one vote in I don't know with that whole thing. But I did want to bring that part up. Matt said at the town council meeting there was an election and Greg lost, and I don't know if it had any impact on it.
But that shit. But
you did lose.
I did lose, but that's an excuse.
I think too, and we've talked about this, that if, in my opinion, if you had come out a little sooner with as much fire as you came out with towards the end.
Yes,
I get it, but that's in the past. And actually, it is a lot of time, and I'm not all that unhappy I didn't win. But it's I did want to have my voice heard. And I think this is.
Why do you think you didn't win?
Huh?
Why do you think you didn't win? Being that it seems like you think there's a majority that would vote for you now.
Well, I do. I think there probably is. I think if I ran now, I'd probably win, and if I decided to run. But that's okay. Again,
why do you think you didn't win then?
I know.
It's 100 votes. I mean,
I know the math. I'm good at math.
A lot of early voting. I mean, I cannot tell you the number of people, and this is not supposed to be. It's supposed to be about Protect FMB, but I can't tell you the number of people who have contacted me after the election saying, "No, I wish I had my vote back. I wish I wouldn't have voted early. I wish I'd have known." Because there's not a soul on this island that lives here that thought that Seagate would get 17 stories. You don't even live here, and you said,
I totally agree with
that. That we got the residents got absolutely nothing in return for allowing them to build.
Yes, Captain Obvious, we don't live here.
No, I know, but I'm saying, but even,
I know.
I'm not going to say you didn't get anything in return. I'm not going to say you got 0 in return, but I never thought in my wildest dreams that Jim would approve 17. And I feel like, and I've said this, I feel like Jim kind of gave some of the other council members cover because he came out first, and you could sense that Matt Price was getting out of his chair to get ready to pull that project until he heard the road Jim was going down. But I'm telling you, that's what would have happened.
There's several things I think are unfortunate. When you have many people take time off work 3 times to go there, to give public comment, almost 100% in the negative. When they get 3 minutes, you can get 9 minutes if you really try hard. Mm-hmm. But the developers can meet with councilmen one-on-one with no minutes, outside the sunshine, discuss anything they want individually with each one of them in an unlimited fashion. Mm-hmm. They get unlimited time at the meetings, right? So we're at a disadvantage, and to have the amount of outpouring and support against the project that we did, and to basically have it ignored, belittled, is concerning. It's concerning to me that you hear people say, "Oh, it's the same 30 people." It's not the same damn 30 people.
It's 30 people that show up, and that's a lot. That is a lot. It is a lot.
It's hard to be there. I mean, I took 2 days off of work to be there, to sit all day, to do that, and to get up and speak. Many people are not comfortable. You do it. You're going to do this show every time. Like, I get up there, I speak in front of thousands of people.
It happened to him. It happened to him. He got up and talked, and it was a train wreck.
I was going to get the approval for the race. It was already approved.
Like, have you lost your mind?
I wet my diaper getting up there, and I don't know why it's so intimidating, but it is.
Again, when you have to fit all your thoughts in, like I'm a verbose guy. I've never been accused of not having the gift of gab. To get all your thoughts in 3 minutes is tough.
Yeah.
So you're up there like, damn it, I got to hit all these points. I got to get it going. It's hard.
Did anybody watch?
Well, you have to edit it down too.
Did anybody watch the city of Fort Myers meeting yesterday with the whole ICE thing and the public comment that was going on there? I mean, Kevin Anderson did the best he could. I will never ever complain about the way I don't think I ever have. But the public comment on Fort Myers Beach, the way people behave and the way they present themselves is like night and day. The people in Fort Myers are lunatics. I'm sorry to say that, but those people are freaking lunatics. They weren't even talking about the item.
They were passionate about their position.
Yeah, they were defending all the illegal workers. That's what they were doing.
Okay,
I'm nothing
against.
I'm just saying.
And
Kevin. So my point was, Kevin was turning off their microphone. Can you imagine Allers, Dan, the mayor here, turning off somebody's microphone? First of all, he wouldn't even know how to do that.
It's easy to do when you're sitting up here.
Yeah, you can do that. I can do that.
No, my point. Point with that is the public comment when there are 35 people on Fort Myers Beach. That's a big number. The last town council meeting, nobody was there. So yeah, there were a lot of people there. And
again, like another point I want to bring up is this density thing, because everybody talks about density, like it's less density. So I have two issues with that. When you use this converting unit to get to 145, 143, whatever it is, 150 some odd units that they have there.
Well, don't code it like everybody understands what you're talking about.
So they use the conversion factor from those RV units to get to 160 units, I think is what they're allowed total with the houses.
160 condo units plus 3 or 4 houses in the back.
That are 4,000 to 5,000 square foot a piece.
Okay.
That's like saying, and they're saying that's the same as, it's going to be less dense than people who are camping there. But it's like saying a guy that's 6'4" and 200 pounds and a guy that's 5'2" and 200 pounds is the same thing.
What is like the conversion? What is the number?
I'm not a planner.
No, it's less density.
Numbers. It's not. It's actually not. Again, how many people can you jam in a 4,000 square foot condo?
I think that Fran also admitted.
I don't think there's going to be like sororities and fraternities in there.
But does it matter if it's a sorority or a fraternity in a car out there, or if it's a billionaire in a car out there? It really doesn't matter.
But Fran also admitted that there was more people there that
what do campers do? I'm a camper, right? So when I go camping, I park my camper, I put my barbecue grill out, I get my cocktails going, and I don't move. I don't move from my campground. And I spent time at the Red Coconut. That's usually what they weren't driving all over the place. When you have condos that are filled with people and it's going to be 2 or 3 families, they're driving all over the place.
I don't know about that. They might not be.
So you think
they might not be here 6 months out of the year.
So what are they going to do? They're going to sit there. They're going to go to just their private restaurant. They're not going to drive down here to go to any restaurant down here.
Hey, point of order.
You think that the people that were camping didn't go out ever?
I think for the most part, they tend to stay still. We're self-sufficient as
They're
campers.
coming to Fort Myers Beach. You're not going to come down to Times Square and go out to eat.
I need a gavel.
Come on.
I need a gavel. Speaking of conversion, you can take the condo.
I want to know what the conversion is.
You can take the condo number and you can multiply it by 2.5 and turn that into a hotel, a resort.
Would have never happened. Would have never happened
with Seagate.
Seagate's not going to build a hotel,
but somebody else might have. I'm not defending
anybody who's going to build a hotel. Guess what they have to do? Do you think they're going to build? Does anybody here in their right mind think someone's going to buy that property and build a whatever it is, 400 room hotel or whatever it is, at 3 above flood? They're going to come in and do that because that's what they can do by right.
Right.
They come in. Someone's going to build. No one's going to do.
It's going to be 17
They're
going to come in.
No, they're going to go.
They're not going to pay $52 million for a piece of property and build a hotel at 3 above flood.
And if they're
not financially feasible,
they're going to build a hotel on the beach. They're not going to push it back.
But they're already putting something on the beach.
They're putting a restaurant,
4-story building on the beach,
private club. That's I guess
like the big houses there. It's no different.
So part of the public benefit that Seagate has thrown out there was that they're not building any residential units on the beach where there were RVs that were on the beach.
So why is that a benefit to me? I can't go to the restaurant. I can't use their beach club.
Well,
I can't use their walkover.
Well, you weren't on the town council because you lost, so it really didn't matter if it was a benefit to you.
I'm a resident.
It only mattered if it was. I know. It only mattered.
It doesn't matter to me as a resident. I am part of who they negotiate public benefit for.
Right, and they felt like there was enough public benefit. I don't know. I just feel like it really is a delay tactic is what filing a lawsuit
All right, well,
is.
so where are you at with the lawsuit? Now the thing has gone out.
It's filed.
You're waiting for their
file
rebuttal.
response, and then it gets scheduled our day in court. And then the judge will make the decision.
It's that quick?
No, it's not. It's not that quick.
Well, again, how long that takes, I don't know.
Listen,
but that's the process.
For those of you that may not know, there was a lawsuit filed against this very resort that you're all sitting at. And when I talked to Tom the first time, by the way, it's crazy as it sounds, the first person that told me that there was a lawsuit filed was Joe, the man with the plan, back then when we were talking to each other. And Tom said right away, 1 year delay on the project. And so the project kind of gets delayed long enough where it's not open before Ian hits. I mean, that's how crazy the whole timing thing, but it really becomes you wait until the last day to file it.
I know, but how many lawsuits how many years did it take them to build this with the lawsuits? It was more than a year delay.
I think the total Tom told me one time on the show, like 10 years from the minute he started buying properties, but from the lawsuit, it was definitely at least 1 year because, then you have appeals. And if you have, well, you guys might not have, unlimited amount of money. I don't know, but that's kind of what it seemed like. We're going to wait till the very last day and file something there, file something there, file something there.
No, that's not what we did. It wasn't like we had to wait till the last day. But
not you guys.
No, we actually did wait to very close to the end. It's because we had to get plaintiffs
involved.
Organized. It's hard. People, and I don't mind saying this, but people are still scared of retribution from the town.
Come on, Greg. Come on.
Come on, me.
Who are they getting retribution from?
Listen,
Who?
I can tell
Andy
you.
Hyatt?
Listen, I have many people come up and say, "Hey, I finally got my CO. I'm willing to get involved now," or I really want to get involved, but I'm trying to get my permit. I'm really afraid of it. I'm not saying it happens, but that's perception is reality, and I've had more than one person come up and tell me that. So it's not like it's.
I can understand why.
There's other people though that are on the other side that also fear that there are also people in support of it
because you've got some crazies on your side too that have threatened.
There's crazies on both. No, what threats? I keep hearing this word threat. Like who's been threatened? I want to know what the cops called. The FBI involved. Listen, I do cyber for a living. I'm happy to help investigate. I help the FBI do things. Definitely happy to help.
I know it's very passionate on both sides, but I don't think the town is intimidating anybody. This town government wants people back in their houses.
Hey, listen, I'm just the messenger. I'm just the messenger.
If people feel that way, where just like you said about the proof of threats, where's their stuff? Where's their stuff from the town?
It's not me. If it was me, I'm still in the process. I just got my permit moved to an owner builder permit, right? I don't feel that way.
Because they're trying to help you.
Listen, the town has been nothing but helpful for me getting my house back. I tell you what, I mean.
And you're the number one instigator against the town, 100%. Right? So why should anybody be worried?
And I don't disagree with you. But yeah, they've been extremely helpful. I mean, what I went through, you could write a book on.
Yeah. So on April the 8th, Moss Marina is going to come through. And so we're just shooting the spit here, just the two of us. You're against Moss Marina.
As it shows now, yeah.
What do you think the rest of your group might think?
Probably the same. Again, we're the Protect F&B is to try to have smart redevelopment. Right?
What is smart redevelopment in your opinion?
It's understanding that we have to build back by law, resilient, all that kind of stuff. It's not public benefit, it's law. But we have to look forward. We're willing to give in certain areas, but we're not willing to give up what our town was incorporated for. We're not willing to give up why most of us live here. We're not willing to turn our backs on that.
So I know you're going to say
that's why Seagate is the big impetus behind most of this.
I know you're going to say case by case. So in the case of Moss Marina, where it is, how many stories?
Not for me to decide. That's for the developer to decide, right?
Well, but,
and it's up to the town.
But you said in keeping in accordance with the comprehensive plan and the LDC and all of that stuff, and knowing they have to be resilient.
They started 3 above flood, and then we start talking about benefits.
Okay, so what explain in your mind. Let's say you won the election. Explain in your mind what gets a developer from 4 over flood, just argument's sake, we're saying 4 over flood because the new rules, whatever, right? So you're starting a 4 over flood.
Well, it's 3 above flood. That's okay.
Okay, 3 over flood. You always got to argue with every single point.
Well, no, but it's got to be right.
3 over flood. What gets them to 6 over flood in return? What's the return?
Again, that's a large benefit. So that you're giving them, and the benefit back to the town, to the residents, should be commensurate with that.
What is
that benefit? They have to tell us. I'm not the guy who's going to come in.
Do you see, as a developer, you're not being very fair?
I get it, but they're also not allowed to build that there. They have their zone for marina. They need to be rezoned to be able to put that
So
hotel there.
okay. So for argument's sake,
they're asking a lot of our town to give up something that we have 2 of that's coveted in our comprehensive plan to change their zoning to now be a resort versus a marina. That's a big. I'm
not about that. Let's stick on. Okay, so we'll stick on Seagate because that's the elephant in the room. This room. So you're saying obviously 17. I don't think very many people want 17.
I don't. They couldn't give enough benefit.
I mean, I don't know why you're debating it. It's already a done deal.
Let's say
they're fighting it.
Let's say Seagate
and we have
decides to donate all of the beachside land to the town, all of it. You okay with it?
We're getting there.
Okay, so what is there?
But I said that to Matt. I told Matt, hey, listen, you donate all your land there.
What is there? How do you get them to where they are?
I don't think there's in my mind to put the structures they want to put there. There's no amount of public benefit I think that you could give.
So
for
Greg, help me out here, bro.
Structure.
Help me out. So now we're donating all the land on the beach side, right? How much would you give them?
Oh, that's for them to come up with.
Okay, so how is that any?
Say they said 15.
How is that any help?
Too big for me. Again,
14.
When you're starting,
it's 14. Can I get a 14? 14.
What number you have?
13. Can I get a 13?
Again,
13?
if you're going to, I'm going to get there.
10.
Maybe, but I'm going to go by total height, right? So the comprehensive plan says that you can put in other taller buildings when you're so surrounded by other taller buildings that not giving you that height would be unfair. The tallest building even close to there is 10 stories.
I have to be honest with you about that. I think you guys win that argument. When they said it's, I think the town staff right there.
If you say I win that argument, then what you're saying is that the Seagate agreement is not consistent with the comprehensive plan, which means it's illegal. You got to realize every project by law has to be found consistent with the comprehensive plan. And if it's not, it's illegal.
I'm just saying when they said that those buildings are kind of like commensurate or whatever the word is with other buildings in the area, I went out and I looked down the street this way and that one, I was like, what the F are they talking about?
What it was meant for is people on the south end. So if you're going to build, if you have a building where you're surrounded by 2 very tall condos, it's kind of idiotic to say you got to stay to 3 above flood because now you have 10-story
condos. They're not on the
side,
south end. That's my point. There's nothing nearly that high.
That's why the comprehensive plan is written that way. Yeah. They want to stop commercial intrusion into residential neighborhoods and high rises into residential neighborhoods. You don't get any more residential than there. True. That's all. So let me ask this. I'm gonna give one more thing out and then you another guess. If I went to the town council right now and said, you know what? It's costing me $1 million to rebuild my house, and it's probably $500,000 over budget what I wanted to spend because I got screwed with the man with a plan. I need to add another story, and it's going to put me over the height on my house because I want to rent that other story out. Would they give it to me?
Hell no.
Hell no, they wouldn't. But they'll give all that extra height to someone who's not here, who's not a local. They are supposed to be representing us.
Yeah.
Not the commercial interest on the island, and that is.
Let me ask you one last question.
Unfortunate.
When they're rewriting, would you prefer if they rewrote the comprehensive plan to take out the option for a CPD?
So I would be happy if they started the process of rewriting the comprehensive plan and got a ton of public input, because that's what they should have done.
I'm asking your input. Would you? Is that something?
No, I don't think. I think what they need to take the ambiguity out of the comprehensive plan.
Yes.
I don't and take the ambiguity out of public benefit.
And there's
put
never
an absolute height on what we're going to allow.
That's the answer right there. That's the answer right there. Put a cap on the height so everybody understands what the height is, because you're never going to get clarity on public benefit.
Well,
never.
That's just it. And
never.
But again, the CPD
and
process
it's going to change over time.
Is there in case someone comes with something that's so spectacular that you couldn't say no to it. I don't consider Seagate something so spectacular. They could have said no to Seagate and there's zero risk to the town. Absolutely zero. Say no, nothing changes.
So the lastly on the Seagate thing, if you guys go and read the comprehensive, well, I don't recommend reading the comprehensive plan.
I do. If you live here, you should read the comprehensive plan.
But you should go into the part that defines the Red Coconut property. And the forefathers in the 90s did have a vision of what they wanted that property to look like, and it was basically a residential neighborhood. It was really a cool connecting residential neighborhood with houses, and there were drawings that they put together, which really does fit with the neighborhood. And when I do ask the town council members, do you feel like you're protecting the neighborhood like you did on Tropical Shores Way from that crap house they wanted to build behind Town Hall? They don't really have a good answer for
it. I don't disagree with you, and it's unfortunate. That's what led us to why we're here. That's the whole reason why we have the not-for-profits, the reason we're doing what we're doing. Everybody who's on our not-for-profit board lives here. We own property here. We don't want to do this, but we don't have a choice.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, big hand for Greg Skasny. More to come, to be continued. And where's the dog? I mean, the dog was running around crazy before, dear. Before our next guest, we need to tell you about our sponsors today, and then we're going to have Chris on from Captains for Clean Water and do a quick pivot and some positivity for a change. Michael Stewart is the first person you want to call if you're rebuilding your home or business. He is a structural engineer. And if you drive down Estero Boulevard and you see that house that fell down, nothing to do with it. He had nothing to do with it because everything that Michael Stewart does stands up strong, very erect. Give Michael Stewart a call. He is a Florida registered structural engineer. And if you go back a few episodes, he sat right in this very chair to my left with Albert, and they gave out great information about rebuilding. They know everything about FEMA and the Florida Building Code. So give Michael Stewart a call, and how about I give you his phone number, 232-292-7670. He's got a website, mstewartpe.com. That's mstewartpe.com. If you watched any of the parades, you probably saw Alex King's name all over them. In addition to being one of the best real estate agents in all of America, he has the King Foundation, where they constantly donate to all the organizations here on Fort Myers Beach to help get these events back to life. And if you want your dream house, or you want to sell your house to somebody who wants a dream house here on Fort Myers Beach, maybe you want to buy something next to a 17-story structure, just give Alex King a call, and he'll take good care of you. Because, if you don't like the sun, buy a house next to a 17-story building. It'll block the sun right out, and the moon. Alex King's phone number is 239-219-0336. 219-0336. All right, if you're here and you did not know to fill out one of our, what are they called? Raffle tickets. We're giving away a big, sweet prize at the end of the show. You don't have to buy anything. You just need to write your name down, and we probably will market to you afterwards. So if you don't want to be marketed to, don't put down your real email address. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest is from the great organization taking care of these waters here in Southwest Florida, Chris Whitman, Captain Chris Whitman from Captains for Clean Water. Chris, thank you for sitting around while we battled it out with Greg. And I don't know if you guys have watched the Marine Environmental Resources Task Force meeting and the Anchorage, Alaska meeting, or whatever that committee's called. Anchorage Committee. There was a joint committee about 4 weeks ago where Chris spoke to them, and I really wish the town had promoted that's a speech that you gave or presentation that you gave, because it was brilliant. And I was like, we got to have those guys come on the show and give us an update. Man, we were talking to each other so much back in the day when LOSAM was being reworked in the whole thing, and that was so many years ago.
It does. It seems like it was a whole lifetime ago. So just to update us on that, it did finally pass, and it is in place.
It did. And LOSAM passed. It is in place. The Army Corps is now managing Lake Okeechobee off of that new plan.
Okay,
and it's a better plan than LORS.
It is.
Okay, now she's talking like everybody understands what she's saying. So LORS is the old plan to manage Lake Okeechobee, and LOSAM is a new plan. Why is it better than the old plan?
So LORS stands for Lake Okeechobee System or Lake Okeechobee Regulation Schedule. It was put into place when the Herbert Hoover Dike around Lake Okeechobee was in fear of being breached. It was aging. It was an earthen berm, and so they're afraid that if the lake got too high, it could breach the dike and kill people and flood communities. So they created a schedule that would keep the lake levels lower during the wet season. And what that meant for our coast here is more massive discharges during our rainy season. The dike, the Herbert Hoover Dike, has since been rehabilitated, and so that old plan was put in place in 2008. So since that dike's been rehabilitated, the Army Corps went into a process to make a new management plan, taking into account that there was no longer this flood risk. Mm-hmm. They also recognized that the Corps' primary mission that they look at is navigation and flood control. they took into account, because of the events that we had here in 2016, 2018, 19,
red
tide,
blue-green
algae, all of those things. The Army Corps, there was a bit of a cultural shift over the last 10 years where they started to take into their equation the human impact and the impact of environmental issues into their management plans. And so LOSOM, this new plan, gives them more real-time flexibility. I guess the analogy you would use is LORS 08 was like flying an aircraft on autopilot. It was very cut and dry. At this date, if the lake is at this height, you open the gates to this level, regardless of this, if there's a red tide bloom here or not. LOSOM is more like flying an aircraft manually. So you have to pay attention all the time, but you're taking into account that there's a thunderstorm there, that there's a red tide bloom. So what it does, and it doesn't get us out of the weeds completely, but what LOSOM gives us over LORS is a 37% on average reduction in damaging discharges to our coast. And that's huge to island communities here that are dependent on clean water.
So back up a little bit and explain people how Captains for Clean Water got started.
So Captains was founded by myself and Daniel Andrews. We're both fishing guides. We're born and raised here. I grew up on Sanibel Island. My mom grew up on Fort Myers Beach, and we're fishing guides. And for our entire life, we saw impacts from these big discharges from Lake Okeechobee. And even though we're born and raised here, our jobs depended on clean water, healthy ecosystems. We never were involved in trying to seek out how we could help fix this problem. We were very aware of the problem. It affected our way of life. It affected our business. But it wasn't until 2016 that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for us, when we couldn't, in good conscience, charge our customers to come go fishing with us. And and it was the same case. We were talking to people that, worked at restaurants or hotels or resorts, and they were empty. They were losing business. And, in a day and age when a Yelp review or a Google review can do some damage, families that are saving up all year to come enjoy their one vacation of the year on Fort Myers Beach, if they come down here and there's dead fish everywhere and they can't breathe and they're coughing, and they can't go fishing, guess what? They're going somewhere else. And so that for us was a reality that this pathway we were going down was not sustainable to our way of life and to our business. But it was also a look in the mirror of if fishing guides who are directly tied to the water and grew up on an island here aren't involved in advancing solutions, then how can we expect anybody else to be? And kind of to our surprise, we saw that the year 2000, the year I started guiding, the Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Plan, a plan to fix this system, to reconnect the waters back to the Everglades and back to Florida Bay and eliminate those damaging discharges to the coast. This was a bipartisan plan voted into law between Governor Jeb Bush and President Bill Clinton in the year 2000, and that it was going to take 30 years to complete this, the largest ecosystem restoration project in the world. And in 2016, we were just past that halfway point, and not a single one of those 68 projects had been completed. And what we recognized and identified there was a void. This wasn't a science problem that we were trying to figure out what was wrong. It wasn't an engineering problem trying to figure out how to reconnect the system. The science had identified the issue. The engineering was there in the Everglades Restoration Plan. The void was all the individual stakeholders, all the individual people, the businesses, the communities that were impacted. People like myself and Daniel as fishing guides, we were not active. Our voices were not active. And as a result, there was no public pressure for policymakers to fund and advance these projects that were politically challenging to them. And as a result of a lack of public pressure, there was no political will.
So in 2016, when none of the projects got started, it was because the people that were kind of running the whole thing were like, oh, they'll do everything they can to delay it and make sure nothing moves forward.
You're right.
Well,
exactly.
Nobody was complaining, so.
Exactly. So they were the legislature in Tallahassee and DC were kind of putting ancillary amounts of money to ancillary projects that weren't politically challenging, because the only people that were influencing were lobbyists walking around the halls in Tallahassee handing out campaign checks from big industry. And the individual people that make up our community and that make up our businesses, those voices were absent. And so that's why we built Captains for Clean Water, was to educate people, make them aware of these solutions, give them a mechanism to use their voice. And if they had the knowledge of how this was impacting them, the solutions that were available, that it just required commitment and funding. There was a plan in place, and the importance and the value of their individual voices collectively speaking, and then could give them a mechanism to keep them up to date on policy, on opportunities, or on threats. That they would, if we had the philosophy, if they were educated, they would use their voice. And those voices of the public would be more powerful than the lobbyists walking the halls handing out checks. And ultimately we'd see progress. And so
you did see that. I saw that from, up close and personal when it was, and I'm going to get the number wrong, but Senate Bill 2508.
That's correct.
2508, when people, you put out the survey, I signed the survey. People really, that was the first time for me that I saw people.
What year was that?
Come together. It was before
3 years ago.
Yeah.
So in 2000.
Well, wait, and everybody was come together, and it got defeated. I mean, that's the first time you really saw, wow, you can actually coalesce people and win against big industries that are doing the other. Yeah.
Why are you afraid to say that?
I'm not afraid to say it.
I'll never say it. Sugar.
No.
Sugar's bad for you. It's terrible for you.
So in 2016, was it that there was no funding and there was just lip service?
It was insignificant funding.
Yeah. So who comes along? Is it Rick Scott, or is it mostly DeSantis that puts the money behind it?
It was DeSantis. And, the dynamic there was during that governor's race, during the primary, was in the midst of one of the worst water crisis we've ever had. And so it really created a situation where that topic, you had business owners that were saying, look, I can make it through a hurricane. I can make it through recessions. I can't make it through a water crisis on the heels of a hurricane.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it created a scenario where it was an opportunity to really advance Everglades restoration and leave a legacy behind that will outlive everybody here.
How did the Everglades, just for history, how did the Everglades get so screwed up that it has to be restored?
That's a long story.
Yeah, well, but in a nutshell, look, at the turn of the century in the early 1900s, across the country, it was a mindset of you conquer the wild and you make something valuable out of worthless, in this case, what was seen as worthless swamp. And so it set in progress an effort to drain the Everglades for development, for agriculture and development. And they did so at that point in time with good intentions. What they didn't realize is you took and you fragmented one ecosystem, you compartmentalized it, you drained it, and you threw off the entire balance of that ecosystem from Lake Okeechobee to Southwest Florida to the East Coast, all the way down to the Florida Keys. And the Keys and the Everglades no longer got the fresh water that it needed. We were getting too much water as the relief valve. And so those actions over the course of, the early 1900s resulted in a system that no longer functioned the way Mother Nature designed it. Everglades restoration goes back and puts the ability for water managers to function that system the way Mother Nature did, as far as the timing and delivery of the water, without flooding, Miami or Clewiston or any of these places. And so it reconnects that system back to being able to deliver water back down to the Everglades and Florida Bay and not discharge
now, let me just ask, so you mentioned about the 68 projects. Where are they now in that number of getting those projects accomplished?
I haven't checked the exact number in the last few months, but one of the last events I was at with the South Florida Water Management District, who's the state agency, the state partner in Everglades Restoration. It was over 55 of those projects have now broken ground or have hit a milestone in their construction or have been completed.
Wow.
So significant progress.
And that basically went forward from 2016.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's from
It's amazing what can get done when
yeah,
you.
and it's a result of significant, consistent
Right.
funding.
Yeah.
That funding is happening because there is political will, and the political will is there because there's public pressure.
And so you and Dan start Captains for Clean Water. What year?
2016.
2016, and just the two of you having a beer somewhere, sitting in the back of a pickup truck. And today the organization is what? I mean, it's
I think
huge.
they were in a boat.
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
talking
I mean,
about it.
well, we were really pissed off, is what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, there's probably quite a few beers. We were really ticked off. We had no idea. We didn't. It wasn't like, like, hey, let's start an organization and start this movement. It was just like something's got to change. We were so naive in the process. At that time, we went to the mayor of Fort Myers because he's like our little league coach or something. And he's like, I don't really have much control over this, but that's when we started diving in.
Right. Who do you call? Like, how do you get involved?
And it wasn't long before we, found ourselves in Tallahassee in front of politicians who were talking out of both sides of their mouth. And you all know how fishermen can tell good stories, right? The fish was this big. When we can tell when we're being fed some BS.
Yeah.
And that's what we identified when we went to Tallahassee that first time. And it
How
ticked
was
us
that
off.
first time? I mean, were you nervous? Were you?
No, we weren't nervous. We
Pissed off.
were just angry.
So who was the first politician in Tallahassee that you figured out, okay, we can trust this person. They're feeling what we're feeling?
I don't remember. I don't know. And I don't think it's ever a question of
One
who's
person.
a person. I think
group
in this
now.
world, it's maybe don't trust anything.
All right, so the local names that are elected now, not on Fort Myers Beach or the town or the city, in Tallahassee, are these people behind you, like Jenna and all
I'll tell
that?
you who I trust is I trust all the people in the communities that are impacted. They want clean water and they want healthy economy. They want good property values. They want a good quality of life. Those are the people with genuine intentions. They're not trying to climb a political ladder in some hall in DC or Tallahassee. And it's those people's message that we carry to the halls. And so that's where the pressure comes. It doesn't matter, what policymaker is in what seat at what time,
because they're all going to change.
Their job is to represent their constituents. Yeah. And the longer you spend up there, I think the harder it is to remain pure. When you've got, Big Sugar going and handing out tens of millions of dollars to policymakers, that's the way that game is played. The only, we don't endorse candidates. We don't give contributions. We don't have a single lobbyist. We have the voice of the people. And that's the strength and that's the currency that we go to Tallahassee to negotiate with. And so those are the people. It's not a matter of who up there we trust or don't trust or what ally we have out there. Our allies are all the people.
Do you think
impacted.
Fort Myers Beach is at risk of red tide anytime in the near future?
I'd say
bad case of it.
It's always a risk. And the sooner we can get to completed Everglades restoration, the sooner we mitigate that risk of happening. It's kind of like when we have Lake Okeechobee entering the wet season way too high, where there's not enough capacity for it to take water throughout the wet season. We're staring down the barrel of a gun.
Right.
And the Army Corps is sitting there with their finger on the trigger going, when do we open the gates or not? And that's where LOSOM comes in. But you can't just manage your way out of the problem. You need infrastructure. You need the Everglades Agricultural Area Reservoir. You need to be able to fill in those canals that drain the Everglades. You need to be able to send that water back south to Florida Bay, way Mother Nature intended it. Until water managers have the capacity to do that, the risk of us getting discharges remains. Now, it's less of a risk now than it was under LORS, but it's still a risk. And, if you look just a couple of months ago, we had red tide off the coast. Not a surprise. We had multiple hurricanes pass our coast. That creates an upwelling in the Gulf, which is where Carenia brevis, the red tide organism, starts and sparks. But a red tide bloom is a lot like a forest fire. They probably actually play some beneficial role in the ecosystem, right? But they spark up, they eat themselves out of fuel, and then they go away. What the difference is, a 2018 event, 2019 event, is like dumping jet fuel on a forest fire for 12 months straight. So it's burning much hotter, it's much more toxic, and it's lasting for a much longer duration.
But when the people did that released that and added the fuel to the fire, did they not know that they were going to do that to us?
No, it's the Army. They operate off of a war book.
I see.
And that rigid war book of 2008
it didn't allow for
does not account for environmental conditions. It said flood control. Lake is this high. This date on the calendar. This is where you open the gates to. That's why that new plan is better. It allows them more flexibility to take into account environmental conditions.
Let me just ask, this is quick. How is the state of the health of Lake Okeechobee now? Because there was one, I remember when they were doing Lonesome and going through it, there were people that live around the lake that were like, this isn't really the most beneficial thing for the health of the lake. So how is the lake?
The lake's not doing great. And, and as a result, really, it had very high waters. A couple of things that impact Lake Okeechobee. One is very, very high water levels for a long time. Mm-hmm. Two is the nutrients that are in the lake, the legacy nutrients that are there from a century of pollution. There's so many legacy nutrients in that lake that if we were putting clean drinking water in it today, starting today, only clean water, it'd be 50 to 100 years before the nutrients would be able to cycle out of that lake. 735 square miles. It's a massive lake. And so, the lake, the ability to manage the lake lower throughout the wet season is critical, not just to the coasts, but also to the health of the lake. And that's why Everglades restoration is important. We don't want the answer to eliminating discharges to our coast to be hold Lake Okeechobee high. Mm-hmm. The answer needs to be send that water south to the Everglades.
And that's when Big Sugar gets
where
involved.
It's needed. And that's really where Big Sugar gets involved, is they want to see the lake managed as a reservoir. If you have a reservoir, you want it to be full as possible at all times, especially through the dry season, as a backup to know you have this guarantee of over and above what you actually need of water supply. The problem with that is if we hold the lake high during the dry season, when we enter the wet season, there's no capacity. So that means we're getting discharges on top of our local basin runoff. That's what Everglades restoration does. It gives water managers somewhere else to put water, and that's back in the Everglades where it's needed during the dry season.
I remember when this was all being debated, Congressman Brian Mast from the other coast who is a war hero. He's a great guy. I love Brian Mast. He was like, no water coming our way. We don't want any water coming to this coast. Send it all to the West Coast. Why does so the question from somebody watching is, why do they discharge more to the West Coast than they do to the East Coast? Is he a better convincer than our folks?
It's a good question. So the shorter answer is, one, we have a bigger canal, a bigger pipe. The other is, this time of year in the dry season, our upper estuary needs water to balance salinities. And so ideally, right now, before development happened and our watershed was sped up, we would slowly get water from during the wet season that would balance those salinities in the upper estuary. And what I mean by upper estuary is basically like the mouth of the river, like around the Edison home, up to what is today the Franklin Locks. And so we need water there. We need about 1,000 to 1,500 cubic feet per second this time of year to keep the mixing zone, that estuarian brackish water, in that area of downtown Fort Myers. If you don't have that, what happens is in the dry season, salt water goes all the way up to the Franklin Locks. And then in the wet season, fresh water comes all the way out past the mouth of the river. And so you have a scenario where the freshwater grasses can't live and the saltwater grasses can't live. So you have this desert in that whole area in the mouth of the river that's really vital to keeping water clean and for habitat. And so we need water to be slowly sent that around that 1,000 to 1,500 CFS to balance salinities in the upper estuary. So right now we want that. And today we're at 1,292 CFS, so about optimal. The East Coast and the St. Lucie River never received that kind of water, so they don't need beneficial flows. Where we need beneficial flows, they do not. So we would not want to say, don't send us any water. That's Big Sugar would love that. And that's what used to happen is when we needed beneficial flows in the dry season,
you didn't get it.
They would hold it back to ensure irrigation for the sugar industry. And at that, what happened there was our upper estuary got too salty. So the difference there is Brian is asking for what his community needs,
right,
as he should. And our representatives asking for what our community needs, which is no massive discharges, nothing above.
But based on what Brian
CFS.
needs on his side and what we need on our side, can it be manipulated the right way so everybody gets what they need?
When Everglades restoration is complete, yes.
So what year will that be?
Well, the EAA reservoir, which is the cornerstone of the kind of heart of Everglades restoration, estimated to be complete in 2034. But when that will be depends on funding. Depends on does that
and
project get funded every
yeah.
year? Yeah, and delay and everything else. And so,
but the funding has been there.
Let me just ask.
It has been. It does, but it doesn't mean that it will continue to be.
Well, if a Democrat gets elected, it won't be.
How big is the EA? How big is the reservoir?
Yeah, so the EAA reservoir
in comparison to the lake.
Just kidding.
EAA reservoir, initially when Senate President Joe Negron filed Senate Bill 10, he filed it where the reservoir would be 60,000 acres. And it specified a volume of water that it had to move through in a given year, okay? They were looking for willing sellers, sugar industry, to come forward to sell some of their least productive land to be able to build this reservoir on. At that point in time, the sugar industry said, we are not willing to take a single acre out of production, that it will harm our agricultural workers, it will harm our businesses. There's no willing sellers. So what the state did was they identified 16,500 acres of state-owned land that was being leased to the sugar companies and set to build a reservoir on that land that would carry the same capacity. So instead of a 60,000 acre reservoir being a few foot deep, we are now building a 16,500 acre reservoir it's above ground, that's got a 30-foot embankment. So it's a 25-foot deep reservoir. But to put that in perspective, you could fit the entire island of Manhattan inside that reservoir. It's absolutely huge. We actually our social team just put a piece of content out yesterday or day before that shows like how many Sanibel Islands you could put in it, or how many Key Wests you could put in it. And it's a massive, massive reservoir that is now deep instead of shallow, but will move the same amount of water.
Governor DeSantis has been a huge supporter of getting this done, and the legislature has been big about financing it and the whole thing. And DeSantis he term limits out. I don't know that Byron Donalds will be the next governor, but he's the only one that announced he's running, or Casey DeSantis if she runs or whatever. But have you got a feel for Byron? Is he on board with what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I mean, look, Byron was supportive of LOSUM, the same plan that we were advocating for. He lives in Naples. He understands how that has impacted. And I think, honestly, regardless of who is the next person in the governor's mansion, the bar has been set. For Everglades restoration.
There's no going back.
Nobody wants to be the guy or lady to take their foot off that gas.
Yeah. They don't want to be the dirty water person.
No. And you don't want to be the person that, Everglades restoration train was finally moving after a decade and a half. and you're
not worried about that.
No, I mean, I'm not worried about it in the sense of, I don't believe the movement is as strong as it's ever been.
Yeah.
The public pressure is not going anywhere. People are more educated today on the importance of water quality and the importance of Everglades restoration than they've ever been before. And regardless of who is our next governor, the pressure is going to be there and their voices will be heard.
So here's the thing that's somewhat confusing, maybe just to me, but you have Captains for Clean Water, you have SCCF, you have the Everglades Foundation, you have several different organizations, and most people are going about their lives until red tide hits, and then they want to get involved. But the important thing is to be involved all the time. They might not know how to get involved because there's so many. Everybody has good intentions, but where should people go to be involved all the time so that they are up to date? Maybe not so much on LOSUM, but maybe they want to know how these projects are going, or how do you keep up to date? Okay, 63 became 65, then became 67. What's the plan there?
I would say any of those organizations you mentioned, the important thing is that you're involved. Whether you're involved with Captains for Clean Water or SCCF, what's important is that you're involved. And those organizations I would look at are kind of like spokes on a wheel, where SCCF is really the voice and resource of science here in Southwest Florida. The Everglades Foundation has some of the best body of scientists for the Everglades and Everglades ecosystem as a whole, economic experts, the Conservancy. There's all these organizations that they all play a role. Captains for Clean Water, we're one spoke on that wheel. What we kind of do is take the complex policy and science, boil it down to where you don't have to quit your job to become an expert on Everglades restoration. Okay. You can understand it while still going to work, taking your kids to soccer or baseball or football, and we can make you aware of when your voice is needed to advance, for something positive like fund Everglades restoration.
So you're more of the lobbying arm of that wheel.
We're kind of the public education arm and activation. We feed the Army and we activate the Army.
We love the Army. And so you're the ones that go in and break bones when time to go to Tallahassee.
We prefer to handle things diplomatically, but we're not afraid of war.
So how do you want people to get involved in Captains?
You can follow us on social. You can sign up for our newsletter. It doesn't cost anything. The important thing is, as you said, it's real easy for people to get involved when we've got dead fish and a 27-foot whale shark on Fort Myers Beach and collapse. It's like, oh shit, right? We need to be involved. But to be involved on a daily basis, just sign up, whether you use Instagram or Facebook or prefer to get emails with blogs, prefer to watch and get your information in a video form. We've been fortunate to build a very talented team at Captains that create content in all these different mediums. So no matter how you prefer to learn and keep up to date, we've got a piece of content that does that. You can, if you want to do it in a 15-second TikTok video, we've got that. Right. If you want to read a 4-page blog post about it in depth, we've got that as well.
Okay. And so people can also go on your website and donate.
Yep. You can go on our website. You can donate, captainsforcleanwater.org. Diana has some of our hats over here.
Please buy a hat, everybody.
And the hats are an important thing to us. It's become our symbol.
Yes.
When we're in DC, the chatters, the hats and the beards are here. So
I didn't know that.
It's about to hit the fan.
Yeah. If I could grow a beard, I'd join you. So
Me too.
But I would say that the hats are they're an important talking piece. They're a conversation starter, and our hope is that everyone is educated enough to be able to tell somebody that you run into in an elevator in 30 seconds, hey, this is why water quality is really important to us, and this is a group that you should learn from and get involved in. What's Captains for Clean Water? Here, check them out. It's that little bit. It's more that it's not a revenue thing for us. It's a conversation starter and an awareness piece. And I think, something important. We all impact and we all want to be involved for different reasons. I got involved because I'm a fishing guide and I love to chase tarpon. I want healthy grass flats. I want healthy oyster bars. But somebody may have worked their whole life to retire here to Fort Myers Beach. They might care about their quality of life, just being able to walk the beach with their grandkids, or maybe their property values, maybe their jobs. And so a couple of years ago, we did an economic study with SCCF that said if our community experiences another 2018 water crisis, what would those impacts be today? 43,000 jobs would be lost. This one resort right here we're sitting at employs over 400 people. When 2018 water crisis happened, the food banks were on Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel Island because people could not feed their families. Hotels were laying off employees. Restaurants were laying off employees. $17.8 billion in property value loss. You work, you invest in a property, $17.8 billion in property value loss, $5.8 billion in economic revenue loss, $8 billion in outdoor recreation loss. The economic impact that stems from an ecological problem is extremely significant. And that is a language that policymakers in DC and Tallahassee understand. Mm-hmm. This isn't about saving sea turtles and seagrass flats.
Right.
It is to me. This is about saving and investing in our economy.
Yeah, without the water quality,
we don't have
anything.
No, you don't have the beach. Yeah.
So two real quick questions, or maybe one. I think I forgot the other one. So last week, in addition to our pet pictures, there was a boat that got, I don't know if you saw, everybody saw the pictures of the boat that got stranded just a little bit south of here. Did you see it?
I did not see. I was in the Everglades last week with zero cell service. Were you
killing pythons?
No.
How many pythons have you killed with your bare hands? Any?
I've killed 2.
Really?
I found a few that were dead after some cold weather.
You wrestled 2 pythons?
Yeah, they weren't real big.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a boat, it looked like a drug running boat to me. I'm sorry, but it looked like a drug running boat to me. It got stranded on the beach. Just like 200 yards, and it was stuck there for like 4 days, and nobody came and got it. Like the guys abandoned it.
Right.
You're a captain. I mean, what would possess somebody to leave a boat there for 4 days? Is it not like drug running?
Get it out of there.
Maybe they stole it.
Okay.
Maybe
could have been a stolen boat.
Maybe they borrowed mom and dad's boat.
I think that's what it was.
And were worried about getting in trouble. Maybe they. It was like too much fun and forgot where they parked it.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
Chris, it was a $300,000 to $400,000 boat. Would you leave that? I would never leave the boat.
No, I'd probably go try to salvage the thing. I mean, marine salvage rights. I'd probably be out there trying to get it.
Said,
Does anybody have any questions or anything for Chris before he goes? This is rare for us to have him come down here and chat with us. I mean, I think the last time we had you on was at Pete's Time Out.
Well, we need to do it more often.
Yeah.
We love you guys. We're huge fans.
We appreciate it.
We love, Fort Myers Beach is one of the most important places on the planet to me. As a kid, I ran this island up and down fishing and skimboarding.
Is the fishing good right now?
It is. It's great. Tarpon are already starting to show up.
Nice. And, because you're so involved in captains, do you get a chance to still go out and boat as much as you want?
No, definitely not. Unfortunately. That's one of the sacrifices and to be a good fishing guide, it's because you're on the water every day.
Sure.
You're paying attention to those little subtle changes in the movement of fish. And without being able to be out there every day, you certainly couldn't be a good guide at the level that, that my clients were accustomed to. And I just believe that this is such a massive fight. If we're not giving it 100% of our effort, we're going to lose. It's a David versus Goliath thing. And it's going to require all of our focus and all of our effort, and so that's where we're turning all of our attention.
It is
well, I think too, the area has had some challenges last couple of years that has kind of diverted everybody's attention from stuff. But now it's really time to get back involved. In fact, because of that, because it's like that's one thing you can at least do something about. You can't really force a hurricane off the coast, but you can get involved and you can do what you can to prevent this, another 2016, 2018.
It's something has an impact on our communities like a hurricane, but it's something that we have the ability to control.
Right.
Diana built a program called Preserving Paradise with John Lai from the Chamber.
We love
Jackie
John.
from the Fort Myers Chamber was part of it. And it was to educate business owners. And many of the businesses on Fort Myers Beach participated, but it was a 7-week course, educate business owners, give them the ability to go and lobby on behalf of themselves. And something that was interesting that came out of that was Kyle DeSico from Sandcap Bank went through that program. And at the end of it, he was speaking to the other students, I guess you would call them, and said that he had more people come to his bank asking for financial assistance or loan forgiveness from that 2018-19 water crisis than he did from Hurricane Ian and COVID combined.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that shows you the impact economically, that the strain that puts our community.
It was crazy watching the dump trucks filled with fish go up and down this beach day after day after day.
Not real good for business.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Nope.
So a big hand for Chris Whitman, everybody, from Captains for Clean Water. We love Captains for Clean Water. Thank you, Chris, for coming all the way down here and for coming to the joint AAC and Murph meeting. And don't go anywhere, everybody. Don't hang up the phone. We're going to pull our winners out in just a second. And we want to remind everybody that we also have our show tomorrow at Wahoo Willie's at 10 o'clock with the mayor. Before the mayor comes on tomorrow, speaking about water, we have the harbor master on, Curtis Ludwig. And Curtis is going to speak to us about the canals, cleaning out the canals and the mooring field and all that. So, ladies and gentlemen, can we have a big hand for Marie, who is our salesperson du jour, and a royal pain in my ass. But come on, Marie, have a seat, and we're going to let you pull the winner. Now, your choices are, you're going to either get two. Now, we're going to do this every weekend here. This is not just this weekend. Oh, wow. This is why we need to put this tent up, because everything, all the electronics are on fire. Maybe that's why my laptop burned out that last weekend. This is a brand new laptop, which is probably going to be useless after today. And Greg, he left. He said there he is. He said my laptop is totally fried. It's useless. So we're putting the tent up from now on. We're going to be giving away prizes every weekend. Everybody that registers for a prize on given weekends will be put into a bigger pot for a bigger prize that hasn't even been announced yet, that we're working on it with Margaritaville, the corporate headquarters. So, all right, get your tickets out. Your choices are a 50-minute massage, not by my wife, by some hunky masseuse in the back room over there in the corner at the St. Selmer Spa, or 2 day passes to the pool, or 2 Easter brunches in the fabulous ballroom. So Maria is going to pull out the ticket, and I'm going to announce the winner. It is Marcia Rosenberg. Come on down. Well, Marcia, what would you like to win? You don't need to tell me right now. You can make up your mind. So we're going to keep all of your information, and you'll all be entered. Now, that big prize that Margaritaville, what are you doing? We're done. No, she gets the choice of out of the 3. Yeah. So don't forget to check under all the chairs. Make sure all the chairs have been checked, because there are over 20 pool passes underneath all the white chairs. We don't want them to go back with any of their pool passes. Where's our little puppy, dear? All right, the dog is asleep. Thank you all for coming to Margaritaville, everybody, and sitting around. We'll be back next Saturday at 11, tomorrow at 10 o'clock at Wahoo Willie's. Bye-bye.